has been a busy week.
Still not done, or?
We're always busy.
Well, one of your latest additions, Julio Jones, took the field today. What was that process like, getting Julio down here, and what did you see out of him today?
Well, it's a scenario that we'd talked about for a while, going back to OTAs and when he was released, that, if it made sense, we'd potentially pursue it. I was talked periodically with his agent all summer. I know Tom and Julio had talked, and then it just kind of came to fruition here in the last couple days, and we're really excited to have him. I know he's super excited to be here. What a mature guy, tough guy, competitive guy, and he's just excited to have a chance to win a championship.
Jason, this offense is wide receiver driven. You've run out of receivers 2 out of the 3 years in 2019 at the end of the year, and then last year as well. Todd was saying that you guys wanted just to get ahead of that and not have to look for a guy if you need him in mid-season. You were able to find Antonio Brown during the Super Bowl year, but was that the sense of urgency? You wanted to get ahead of any potential problems by adding him now?
100%, especially with a player like Julio. If you can do it with a player like Julio, it can't just be anybody. And our receivers we talked, Todd and I, talked Mike, talked Russell, talked Chris, and everybody was very excited about having Julio just because of the reputation that he has of being a great player, but also being a great teammate and being an extra coach on the field. Don't want to use all those cliches, but that's what he is. And we had a lot of injuries last year, like you said, going down the stretch that really hurt us. And we wanted to try to avoid that situation this year if we could.
Jason, we see Bruce out there. He's front and center watching things. What would you say his role is? Consultant, sounding board, extra set of eyes, all of the above?
All of the above. All of the above. It's great to have him. He and I obviously have a great relationship. I lean on him for a lot of things. We'll continue to do that. I know Todd does as well, and all of our coaches. He's great to have around.
We asked Kyle, we asked for some words, what it was like. You come to practice one day, it's Julio Jones, one day it's somebody else. He said it was like a video game. You have to actually be in that video. Does it ever feel like that Tom Brady's my quarterback and I've got these guys I'm surrounding him with?
I never really thought of it as a video game. I just think of it as having a lot of great players and trying to make a push this year to win another Super Bowl and doing whatever we can for that. And fortunately, we've been in a situation here the last couple of years where we can bring in a lot of players. Maybe they're on the downturn of their career, but they still have something left. Guys like Kyle, guys like Julio. Past couple of years, we've done the same thing. So I think these two in particular, Kyle and Julio, I think they're really going to help us.
Is there any spot on the roster that you're looking to maybe improve? I know Todd yesterday said if it fits with chemistry and with if they fall into your lap, but is there anything on the roster now you're like, we'd like to get another guy here or there?
It would have to be a good fit, like he said. We're nonstop putting lists together, keeping tabs on players that are out there on the street, players that could potentially get released, traded. I mean, that's what my personnel department does, and they do a great job of it nonstop. So wouldn't say one thing in particular. Right now, we feel very good about most of our team and the depth that we have. But we always keep an eye on everything.
Jason, do you feel that with these last two additions, if Gronk were to call you, that you'd find room, or is it too full at this point?
Well, I don't want to deal with hypotheticals, but we all know Gronk is a hell of a player. It'd be hard to turn down.
Jason, you had good receiver depth before you brought Julio in terms of the competition for the 5th and 6th, maybe even 7th spot. How do you see that developing next month?
A few years ago, early in my tenure, I would have probably been thinking too much about that right now. But now that you have a few years under your belt, you realize that it's way too early to start playing that game. A lot of things can happen between now and cut-down day. Injuries, things of that nature. So right now we just want everybody to compete, and I think it's going to bring out the best of everybody.
Speaking of injuries, Brian Jensen went down today. Is there anything that you know or can add to that? And how have you seen Robert Hainsey's development here over the last year?
Yeah, right now we feel terrible for Jensen. Don't have any update on that. We won't for some time. We have tests. Some tests you have to wait a couple days before you can get them. You have to wait for swelling and things like that to go down. So I don't have any update on that other than that it was a knee injury, and we're hoping for the best, but we'll have updates on that later. Well, that usually happens when you have a player like Ryan, who's such obviously a very good player, but also just a great person and a leader, and his toughness, things like that about him that define him. When a player like that gets hurt, and he's played through several injuries in his career without missing any time, it usually it deflates everybody. So, but we'll wait to find out what it is, and like I said, we're hoping for the best.
That's right. Yeah. No, yeah, if you can comment on that.
Yeah, we took Robert in the third round for a reason, because we saw a lot of potential in him. We saw potential in him as a center first, potentially playing guard. He played right tackle at Notre Dame as well. We've liked everything, the progression of Robert since we drafted him, since he came into the offseason last year, and we have faith in him. We also have a lot of faith in Nick Leverett playing center as well. So those two will get in there, and they'll compete for the time being until we find out more about Jensen.
What's it like having the world's greatest recruiter, Jason, at your disposal, whether it's Gage, it's Rudolph, it's Jones? It's a big advantage. So that Brady factor, it's real, isn't it, Jason?
Oh, it's huge. I think any GM with a established veteran quarterback has an advantage, but when you have Tom Brady as the greatest, it's even more of an advantage, and I'm never going to apologize for using him to help me bring in players for this team.
Jason, can you talk about the Akeem Hicks signing as far as what you saw from him last year, how his season ended, and just his injuries and your confidence?
Yeah, he had some unfortunate injuries last year that ended his season early, but he's healthy now, and he has come in, and he's a big man. He's very athletic. He's very powerful. He's got very good quickness for his size, and he's been a great addition to that room. He's a veteran leader. He's a very mature guy, and everybody's been very high on him since he's been here. I think he's gonna have a hell of a year.
Talk about Tom being a master recruiter. He's also an ageless wonder and possibly a vampire. I've heard some speculation out there. Just as a general manager, when you can have a living, breathing example to show your players, like, this is, like, if you do what this guy does, like, you can be in this league for a long time. So what's it like to be able to have that? I mean, he turns 45 next week, and there are so few people in any professional sport that have been able to achieve that milestone.
Well, I think I think that has rubbed off on a lot of players, just the way he prepares, the things that he does to keep his body in the shape that it's in. I don't think I have to ever grab a player and point to Tom Brady. I think they see it firsthand pretty quickly when they come in here, and the entire locker room has the utmost respect for him.
Kind of piggybacking on the recruitment side, how often does Tom come to you and be like, hey, I talked to this guy, we want to give him a call, see if you guys want to, or is it just a joint effort where you're like, hey, we're looking at this guy, can you give him a call? How often does that go back and forth and play?
It goes, if I'm thinking about a player, if we are as a staff, I'll give him a call and see if he can help us out, and he's always willing to do it. So.
Does he offer players too, like say, hey, talk to this guy?
We're usually on the same page with that. I mean, we didn't have to kick too many weeds to find out about Julio Jones. We've known about him for a while. And Kyle Rudolph was the best tight end that was available. So, but, we're usually on the same page. We have a lot of communication. So does Todd and Tom and myself, and we talk a lot about players.
There's been some guys come in, like Rudolph and others, that say immediately they feel the culture of this building, that everybody's about one thing, winning a Super Bowl, and there's no selfishness, which is hard. That's what you've built, you and Bruce and everybody. How does that sound to you when you hear that back, as far as new players from coming in from outside?
It's humbling. It's awesome. That's what we aspired, and that was our goal a long time ago. It's all about the culture, and when you add a player like Tom, that certainly helps, and it resonates throughout the whole building, and will, I think, continue to resonate for years to come. This is what it takes to win. So we have the best locker room that I've ever been around in my career in terms of the professional attitude and the maturity and, the goal-minded players of all being on the same page of what we're trying to achieve.
Here's the front office moves with obviously Jacqueline Davis getting a promotion. Spytech had a few interviews. How important is to have that staff cohesiveness? And I'm sure you wish Spytech, would get a job eventually because he's great at what he does. But how important is to have him in that role and keep him on the team in the front office?
It's, not just John, but I could name them all. We have a great group. I hope they all become GMs at some point. Somebody's got to be in the top spot, and there's different roles, but nobody really looks at it that way. They all have a job to do, and just like the players, we all have a goal in mind, and that's to win a Super Bowl. So I couldn't be more happy with the group that I have.
Coach Bowles had said that he wanted to have more competition this go around. Did you sense that more competition between offense and defense and at each position?
There's a lot of chatter, a lot of banter, and a lot of smack talking going on, and that's a good thing.
So one more thing on Julio Jones. I know he's had an ankle for a long time. You guys are paying him pretty well, and I'm sure you did your diligence. Is there any limitations? Is he here, at depth? What about it for Julio?
No, we passed him on the physical. We feel good where he's at. He looked damn good today. We did our homework, and from what we've seen so far, we're pleased with the signing. He can run, he can catch. He's a super competitive guy, so it's going to help us out.
Jason, is it a coincidence that a lot of the guys you brought in, Gage, Rudolph, Jones, Neal, Hicks, veterans, but they don't have a ring. They don't have that ring. And is that any kind of factor in your mind? Like, hey, this is going to be a hungry player.
I don't think it's a coincidence. I think in all of those negotiations, one of the top priorities that they had on their list was going to a team that they had a good chance of getting a ring, and how they want to end their career, not necessarily end it this year, but have a chance before their career's over to win a Super Bowl.
So from your standpoint, it's a very attractive commodity, right?
Very attractive. I'm not saying that we're definitely going to win the Super Bowl. We've got a long road to go here, a short time to get there, but it's we just all feel we're all on the same page and we have a good chance.
Jason, after studying the draft picks all spring and a couple of days here, who's catching your eye from the guys you chose?
Right now they're all kind of catching our eye. I would say Rashard White has done a fantastic job. He's got a very mature approach. Reminds me of Godwin when he came in as a rookie, wanting to get all of his ducks in a row before training camp so he could just focus on football. Logan's done some great things for us. Luke is competing his butt off in there at guard. The tight ends both have shown a lot of good things in different areas. Cade catching the ball, his route running, his knowledge of the offense and blocking, and then just a tough blocker that can be used in various roles as a blocker, but he can also catch. So they're all right now. It's way too early, but they're all catching our eye one way or another.
What do you see of the returner competition? What's your perception on that?
That's going to be kind of ongoing right now. We think Darden has shown a lot of improvement from last year. We've got some young guys that are going to compete for that. We've got Gio, who's done a nice job for us in the past. So there's going to be a lot of work there to see what shakes out, who's going to be the best one for us.
When you look at Tom, he's not going to play forever. There was a 40-day span where he called it quits and came back. Do you have to find out more about Kyle Trask this August, this preseason, to know if he's a viable option for 2023 if Tom decides not to return?
We definitely, is one of our goals, is to find out as much as we can about Kyle during the preseason.
Now, Tristan had said that it's like a video game, right? Like with all these players that you're bringing in. But what's it like for you as an dad? You come home and you signed Julio Jones. Like, or do the kids sometimes nudge you? Like, what about this guy? What's the
Well, with social media today, and they're not in school, so I have an 8-year-old who finds out all of his information on TikTok, and will, call me before it even gets out. So it seems like so. No, it's a lot of fun to go home and talk about the things that we've done, but you know, there's also, when I go home, I get humbled pretty quickly.
They
So.
share your enthusiasm, though. That's great.
Yeah.
As far as Trask goes, is there going to be a attempt to get him to a look with the ones and see how he performs this year? I know he's been working, getting a lot of reps with the threes and some with the twos, but that first team, do you need to see him with that first team?
He's going to play a lot. Thanks, guys.